Welcome back to more of the Afterglow of Grisaia, a Labyrinth of Grisaia side story that takes place during the events of the game. In our world, there's an absolute ruler whose authority everyone recognizes. If you want to take the throne for yourself, brute force is necessary. You can only take the throne by force. You're gonna boast about your sharp skills or your cunning tactics in battle, no one will recognize your rule. In fact, behaving so foolishly will only get you branded a coward. If you're gonna challenge for the throne, a straightforward battle plan can be both proof of your worthiness and the most effective means of achieving your goal. On this particular day, Asako returns home in an extremely bad mood, having completed her first job in a while. I hear that the job itself went just fine. When I ask her why she's in a bad mood in spite of this, she tells me that she's experienced a completely unrelated defeat on her way home. She'd gotten on her beloved bike in a perfectly good mood after finishing work, humming a song as she went, but she then got passed from behind by another motorcycle. You think you're hot shit, okay, let's play a little. Appears to be what she was thinking as she went after them full throttle. However, she couldn't narrow the distance between them. In fact, they kept getting farther and farther apart as they turned each corner. That only made Asako feel ashamed of her conceit a few moments earlier. She returned home burdened with a sadness she couldn't quite define. Apparently, she was very frustrated to be defeated like that. After tossing off her helmet and jacket, she starts rolling around on the floor. Oh, JB's here.
仕事の帰りに湾岸で 9R にぶっちぎられたんだとさ。
9R？
ほら、川滝の最後のマジック9。
Of course.
何それ？バイクなの？
そう。それにね、後ろからスコーンと抜かれて相当頭にきたみたい。
もうそんなことでへそ曲げてるの？朝子、あんた年を考えなさいよ。子供じゃあるまいし。
You need to come around more often.
うるせえ。パワーでもテクでもね、タイヤで負けたんだ。見てろ、アホみてえに高いタイヤ履いてやる。覚えてろ。次は絶対負けねえ。お水でエンジン冷やしてりゃ偉いってもんじゃねえぞ。ガオー。
Asako's great when she gets all crazy.
ガオって、そんなに悔しいなら車に乗ればいいのに。
はあ？
例えば私の車なら 3600cc の V8 だし、相手のオートバイがどう頑張っても絶対に負けないわよ。
ああ、説明するのもバカらしい。これだから乗らないやつは。
乗らなくてもわかるわよ。タイヤの数もピストンの数も倍なのよ。だいたいあなただって一応女なのよ。止まったら自立していられないような乗り物なんか乗るのやめなさいよ。オートバイなんて高校生のギターと同じで、異性を意識して手を出す一過性の熱病的な存在なんだから。
I don't know about that, but...
お前、乗りもしねえでバイクをバカにしてんな。じゃあ聞くぞ。お前、日々の生活に埋没して冒険することを忘れちゃいないか。
Oh, they're gonna get into it again.
冒険？ドライブならたまにするけど。
いいか？車での移動なんてのは所詮インドアだ。エアコンやらなんやら人間の手で管理された環境で移動したって、所詮はドアトゥードアで快適なお部屋の延長でしかない。お高い車に乗って遠出して冒険はいいねが聞いて呆れるぜ。
むっかー、何それ。そっちこそ所詮は高級車に乗ってる人種へのひがみじゃない。
言ってろ。所詮見えねえやつには口で言ったって伝わんねえよ。
また始まった。都合が悪くなるといっつもそう。
喧嘩するなよ、どうしいから。
Yes, please, come on.
お前はどっちの味方なんだよ。
I don't take sides.
俺は乗る側の人間だから朝子の言うこともわかるけど、JB の言ってることも間違いだとは思わない。
なーに？
負けて悔しいなら相手より速いバイクに乗ればいいんだよ。 R1 買おうぜ。あれ乗ってりゃさすがに誰にも負けないだろ。そんで今の揺れは俺にくれよ。
バカおめえ、道具に文句つけてりゃキリがねえんだよ。言ったろ、タイヤだ。カチカチのツーリングラジアルからフレッシュなスポーツラジアルに履き替えりゃ十分だ。よし、ちょっと甲府行ってくる。ついでにチェーンとブレーキも交換だ。この草壁麻子、同じ相手に二度は負けん。
ちょっと朝子、あなた報告書は？
なもん帰ってからでいいだろ。
バイクね。確かに私にはわからないけど。
それを知るためには自分で乗ってみるしかないんじゃないかな。
Oh, is she gonna get to ride a bike?
まあね。あなたぐらいの年ならそういうものに興味を持つのはわからないでもないけど。ああ、そういえばSARSの別の班だけど、夢玉って書いてある青いオートバイに乗ってる女の子がいたわね。
Alright, what's that mean?
まさか C 型じゃないだろうな。
C 型って言われても私には全部同じに見えるし。
あのさ JB、 その子ってもしかして今日の作戦にも参加してた？
どうかしら。班が違えば管理官も別だから私にはわからないけど、いてもおかしくはないかしら。
ねえ JB、 できればその話朝子には内緒にしておいて。
え、なんで？
朝子がちぎられた相手って多分その子だ。
ああ、まあ確かにバレたら面倒なことになりそうね。
At any rate, I think it's the law's fault for allowing someone who yells about winning or losing on the road to have a driver's license. Getting a hold of such credentials is very difficult for someone like me. Even if my birthplace and roots were clearer, making it easier for me to get qualified, it's not that simple when your past is as troublesome as mine. I need to go abroad to get all my credentials, whether it's my driver's license or the license I need to do work for CIRS domestically. Asuka laughed at me for this. She said I was like an import car that still had left-hand drive. Even though these same foreign models are sold officially within Japan, if you want a car with left-hand drive, you have to go through the annoying procedure of registering the vehicle before importing it. Becoming a CIRS agent is easy enough, but staying on the job is another story. This is a story I've heard from my forerunner, fought throughout the chaos of the Showa era, before CIRS had even been formed. It's a story I was told after overcoming many trials and receiving a license to work for CIRS in Japan. One day I found myself going to a sports equipment workshop in Kitago Sakacho called Morishima Racket to pick up my rifle, which had been taken in for routine inspection. I cannot read today. Inside the workshop, which was a redolent of the Showa era, a man was cutting out circular grommets at his workbench. He looked like he was in his 50s, wearing his overalls covered in oil. I hesitated to call out to the man while he was focusing on his work and decided to wait until he found a chance to take a break. He finally turned off the machine, took a cigarette out of his pocket, put it to his lips and lit it with a gas lighter.
ごめんください。
なんでお前どこから入ってきやがった？
The door?
入り口から。
なんだ？何の用だ？
今日おもちゃ取りに来るって連絡入ってるはずだけど。
おもちゃだ。あ、つうことはお前その年で日の丸の飼い犬か。
He shuts his mouth, almost biting through his cigarette filter, and looks at me up and down. Having expelled the smoke through his nose with a puff, he looks me straight in the eye, like I was nothing more than an insignificant little bug.
嫌な面してやがんなてめえは。
今日はビジネス用の顔で来たからね。休みの日はもう少し可愛いよ。
Hearing that someone didn't like my face was pretty common, actually. I was told that sort of thing during a lot of my time at Oslo's school and the army, and I always retorted, "We're not working with our faces." Just in my mind, of course. If your comrades took a fancy to you, your ass would be in danger. If your commanding officer took a fancy to you, you'd end up living longer, whether you want to or not. I think good could come of having a nice face.
お前、何も考えてねえだろ。上官が腕といえば、何のためらいもなく撃つ。そんな面をしてやがる。気に入らねえな。
別にいいよ。男に気に入られてもあまりいいことはない。それより頼んでおいたおもちゃは世間話で長居をする気はない。
長居されちゃこっちが迷惑だっつの。こっちだ。ついてきな。
Jerk. At first glance, it just looked like any old workshop, but in reality, though, it was an arms shop for CIRS agents. Normally, CIRS agents receive new, fresh-out-of-the-box firearms, long-range and short-range, from the company, and they're expected to send them in for routine inspection twice a year to the specified workshops. Morishima Racket was one of those, although it was originally a factory that manufactured FRP rackets for tennis, etc., as its name would suggest. As the business expanded, it became to accept orders from sporting rifles also. I've heard it was that which prompted CIRS to start using the factory. After walking through a tunnel hidden beneath the portable office in the workshop, we went down into the brick-built basement that looked as if it could have been constructed during the war. It smelt of working men's sweat. When the man turned an old switch on the wall that looked to be made of backlight, the ceiling lamps illuminated the room, and the giant ventilation fan began spinning. Like he was using the ventilation fan as an excuse, the man took a new cigarette out from his pocket and began smoking again.
こいつが頼まれてたおもちゃだ。確認しな。都合の悪いところがあったら今調整する。
I reached out for the familiar gun case and quickly changed the number on the lock to 9029 so that I could check the contents. At first glance, it didn't appear that anything was different. Scratches from overuse on the gun stock were still there. However, when I picked it up and tested the bolt, it felt obviously different. Any warping or wear, any creakiness or clattering of joints, it had all been fixed. And despite this, it still fit perfectly on my shoulder. I could feel the necessary amount of weight in the necessary places. In fact, it was even better than it was before. I jammed a PP dummy cartridge in the chamber and pulled the trigger. The moment the gun went off, the little bit of awkwardness I felt disappeared. The feeling of the trigger swaying to the right and left was also gone.
全体的にシャキッとした感じ。でも、あんまりデリケートでも困るな。
部品を新品に入れ替えりゃいいってわけじゃねえ。銃全体のバランスを考えて削るところは削って仕上げてある。
弾がまっすぐ飛べばそれでいいよ。
なら俺じゃなくてもいいだろう。次からは他のやつのとこに持ってきな。
Alright, chill out, man.
文句を言ったわけじゃない。
It's raining out in the field. My rifle obviously gets covered in mud, and if I need to draw my handgun quickly, it gets thrown to the ground. And if it started acting up during the job and I had to exchange parts out in the field, it would be a problem for me if those parts were as delicate as those of a race gun.
この俺がガキが心配するような調整するわけはねえだろうが。お前がどこでどんな仕事をしてきたかは銃を見りゃわかる。ボルトとレシーバーの隙間に潰れた赤アリの死骸が挟まってた。ありゃアフリカに多く生息する種類だ。ライフル抱えて伏せ込んだ場所のそばに運悪く赤アリの巣があったんだろう。様々な要因を考慮して決めたポイントだ。容易に動くわけにもいかない。何時間も赤アリに噛まれながら粘った証拠だ。
Boy, this guy's good, isn't he?
9時間粘った。
スコープのリングにライフルの弾がかすった跡もある。スナイパー同士で撃ち合ったこともあるな。
あるね。
こりゃ相当肝の座ったやつが受け取りに来ると思ってりゃ。まさかお前みたいに鍵が来るとはな。
Saying this, the man took out another cigarette and lit it.
タバコ。
Bad for your health, you know. You already know that.
吸いすぎじゃない？
うるせえや。俺はタバコが吸えればそれで幸せなんだ。羨ましいか？
自分の幸せが何なのかはっきりと分かってるのは。
Is this the guy from the cab driver earlier? Because he mentioned something about a guy who finds pleasure in cigarettes.
なあガキ。
なんだいおっさん。
朝子は 元気でやってんのか？
知り合い？
朝子が拾って育ててるガキってのはお前だろ。
なんでそう思うの？
銃を構えた瞬間に顔が変わる。姿勢の組み立て方、呼吸の仕方、気持ちの切り替え方。なんだその面は。
朝子の師匠は死ん
Yeah,
だ
what?
って聞かされてる。
確かにな。俺も狙撃兵として死んでる。
We thought she meant died, like, for real. I had noticed that every time the man brought his cigarette to his mouth, his trigger finger was missing. I suppose that's what he meant by having died as a sniper. Can't shoot the gun anymore.
なんでまた SARS なんて七面倒くせえ仕事を選んだ。こんなな、寄せ集めの死刑囚がやる仕事だ。
I thought this guy wanted us out of his workshop. What happened to that? Now he wants to chat.
知ってる。担当官にも同じことを散々言われた。
親でも殺したのか？
なんで知ってるの？俺の資料でも読んだ。
マジかお前。
あんたは誰を殺したんだ？
Who did you kill?
あんたって言うな。
だって名前。
I don't know your name, dude. Because of the type of business this is, most of the people involved don't always want to reveal their names. So I didn't even think to ask.
お前、俺の名前を知らずにブツを受け取りに来たのか？
店員の名前を知らなくても買い物はできるよ。
口の減らねえガキだな。嫌なとこで朝子に似てるぞお前。
よく言われる。
俺は山本だ。
ああ。そういえば朝子のライフルのレシーバーに山本って挑戦者の名前が彫ってあった。あんたがあの山本さん？
そうだ、その山本さんだ。あんたって言うなクソガキ。
すみません。それで山本さんはどなたをお殺めになられたのですか？
部長はゴルフをおやりになられないのですかみたいな聞き方してんじゃねえよ。
敬語って難しい。
なんだよおめえはよ。俺は頭痛くなってきたぜ。
頭痛薬は普段どの銘柄をお使いになられていらっしゃるのですか？
そのうさんくせえ敬語やめねえかこの野郎。
あんためんどくさいおっさんだな。
お前なんかこうちょうどいい具合の口調で話せないのか？
We're not a normal person.
Mr. Yamamoto, why did you join CIRS?
英語かよ。
いや、英語なら相手が大統領でも You だし。
もういいよ。好きに話せよ。うっとうしい。
山本さんはどんな理由で SARS に？
俺が現役でやってた頃は SARS なんてこじゃれた名前もなかったし、今ほどしっかりとした足場のある組織でもなかった。俺はもともとオリンピックの代表に選ばれるほどの競技ライフルの選手だった。
Oh, wow.
人を殺してしまってな。
What happened?
誰を？
嫁さんとその浮気。
Oh. Oh boy.
男の嫉妬か。醜いな。
お前真面目に俺の話聞く気あんのか？
射距離は
200メートル。
大した距離じゃないな。
おめえとは時代も違えば使った機材も違うっつの。
つまりあれか。将来食っていけるかどうかも怪しいライフル野郎の将来に不安を抱えた嫁さんがどこぞの金持ったろくでなしと浮気してるのを知ってついカッとなったと。
そうだよ、悪かったな。
犯行はアメリカで？
よくわかったな。
その後 SARS に拾われたってなるとアメリカかなって。
まあお察しの通りだ。てめえの商売道具で人を2人もやっちまったとなりゃ当然表舞台からは引きずり下ろされて俺は投獄された。
Ah.
オレンジ色のつなぎを着せられて囚人番号
That's
9029
convenient.
ってな。
9029？
そうだよ。 おめえらが得意になって名乗ってる9029は俺の囚人番号だ。
俺にしてみりゃただの野号だ。数字を自慢したことは一度もないぞ。
シャバで口にする数字でもねえしな。でだ、刑務所でくすぶってた俺を面会に来たのが日米合同対テロ組織、当時はまだ正式な部署名も決まってない CIA の子会社みたいな組織の男だった。
Okay.
ミスター山本、あなたにしかできない仕事がある。
そんなもったいつけた言い方はしなかったな。処刑されるかオズワルドになるか選べって感じだ。俺には選択権も拒否権もなかった。俺は当然仕事を選んだ。同じ死ぬにしても檻の中で死ぬよりはマシだからな。
I suppose.
檻から引きずり出された俺はノースカロライナの海兵隊基地へ送られて、そこで似たような境遇の連中数人と3ヶ月の訓練を受けた。訓練が終わればいきなり実戦だ。パナマにリビア、ドイツにも行かされて、言われるがまま言われた通りの人間を弾いた。俺と同期で入った連中はドジを踏んだり政治的な理由で処刑されたりでみんな死んじまった。残ったのは俺9029号だけだ。いっそ俺もどこかで失敗して死んじまえば楽だった。今日はこいつを、明日はあいつを殺せってな。命令一つで東へ西へってよ。気が変にならないわけがねえ。毎度俺に嫌な仕事を持ってくる担当官は、罪の数を数えるな、天井の穴の数でも数えて寝ちまえってなことは言いやがる。けどな、どうしたって考えちまうんだよ。俺のやってることは正しいのかってな。どんな理由があって誰の許可があろうと、人殺しは人殺しだ。今さら日の当たる場所に出たいとも思わねえが、先が見えねえ道ってのはどうしたって気がめいる。もう何年こんなことをやってんだ。あと何年こんなことを続けなきゃならねえんだ。それなりの覚悟を持ってやってきた仕事だが、もう限界だ。
It'd wear anybody down after a while.
何も悩まず引き金を引けるならそれに越したことはねえ。だがな、考えない、悩まないってのは思っている以上に難しい。
It would be. I mean, could you honestly say you could pick up a weapon and shoot another human being? I mean, I don't know.
そんなある日、俺に新しい任務が発令された。 CIA 内部の人間が機密書類をモサドに売り渡そうとしているとのことで、その裏切り者の始末だ。都合が悪けりゃ身内でも殺す。それが俺に与えられた仕事だ。それが正しいのか正しくないのかなんて考えるだけ無駄だ。所詮は日の当たらねえ裏稼業。スーツ着て革靴を履いてるって違いだけで、やってることはテロリストと変わりゃしない。けどよ、その機密書類の受け渡しの現場にやってきた裏切り者ってのが知ってる顔だった。まあ知ってると言っても本部で何度か見かけたってくらいで話したこともねえ相手だったんだが、狙撃ってやつは一瞬でも迷ったらもうダメだ。いくら集中して引き金に指を乗せていても当たらないでほしいって思いが勝っちまえば、もうどうしたって当たらない。結局俺は引き金を引けなかった。いや、引けなかったっていうと意味が変わってくるな。物理的に引けなくされたってのが正確か。
どういうこと？
カウンタースナイプを食らってトリガーに乗せてた
Oh, wow.
トリガーを吹っ飛ばされた。
モサド側も狙撃兵を配置してたのか。
ああ、これが説明すると面倒なんだが、要はその取引自体がおとりでな。簡単に言っちまうと、アフリカで反政府ゲリラに米軍の武器を横流ししている大佐がいたんだが、 そいつの正体をあぶり出すための罠だったわけだ。
Oh, wow.
そんで俺はその大佐側に雇われた悪者側の狙撃兵だったってことよ。そうしてまんまと罠に引っかかった大佐は逮捕されて、俺は指と職を失った。でだ、その時俺の指ごとトリガーを吹き飛ばしてくれた相手の狙撃兵ってのが、当時まだ15やそこらの朝子だったってわけだ。
Well, I was a 15-year-old working for the CIA
なるほどね。
as a sniper.
大して驚きもしねえな。
だいたい予想通りだったってのもあるし、その後の朝子もだいたい想像がつく。多分あんたは朝子を放っておけなくて、鉄砲鍛冶をやりながら朝子の面倒を見続けたって感じじゃないか。
もっとよく考えろ。あの朝子だぞ。そんな綺麗なオチがつくもんかよ。だいたいな、俺はガキが大嫌いだ。
My man.
そう言うと思った。
だろうな。あーくそ、ムカつく。いいからてめえ、おもちゃ確認したならもう帰れ。
いきなりだな。まだ聞きたいことがあるのに。
うるせえ。これ以上話すことなんかねえっつの。帰っててめえの師匠にでも聞け。
He's told us all he wants to tell us.
いや、そうじゃなくて、ライフルを整備する時の癖とか。
だからうるせえっつの。いいからおもちゃ持ってさっさと帰れ。ほら帰れ。
わかったよ。もう帰るけど、また来るよ。
お前はもう二度と来んな。
横暴だな。
Jeez.
一応俺、あんたの後継者だぞ。
それがイラつくってんだよ。帰れ帰れ。
じゃ、世話になったね。
なあおいガキ。
何？
You just told me to leave. Now you want me back.
この仕事はな、始めようと思えば結構簡単に始められる。けどな、一度手を染めちまえば二度と抜けられねえ泥沼みてえな仕事だ。そんな泥沼に首まで使っちまう前に足を洗え。ガキならガキらしく学校にでも通って仲間とバカやってりゃいいんだ。
それができれば、俺は今こうしてあんたの前にいないよ。
だろうな。お前の師匠も同じことを言った。だったら悩むな、考えるな。引き金ってやつは考えたり悩んだりすればどんどん重くなる。重くなって引けなくなった引き金の代償はお前の命だぞ。
覚えておく。
I understand what the old man was trying to say. I mean, no matter how you put it, murder is murder. It's a terrible job, it really is. And because it's a terrible job, you start agonizing. You start thinking. You start thinking about the significance, the value of what you're actually doing. Even if you know it's useless to think about. But what other path is there for a parent killer like me? I don't regret having killed my father. And yet I still see him in my dreams even to this day. In my dreams, my father is still the piece of scum he always was. However, once in a while I also remember his occasional acts of kindness towards me. When I think about it that way, I realize I might still harbor a grudge, and not just a little one. When the trigger becomes too heavy, I'll just have to pull it with all my conviction. It doesn't matter if I can't pull the trigger for my own sake, I just have to be the sort of person who can pull it for someone else's, without a shred of hesitation. And that's why I will pull the trigger for Asako's sake. As long as Asako is here, I will never agonize. Humans can die at any time. Someday they're fine and the next day they're not. Happened to me. Especially in a job like mine. Sometimes the guy you had breakfast with in the morning comes home at night in a body bag. Even when I see things like that, I simply write it off as bad luck. I know that I'm far too used to having people die around me, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. If I hear of a comrade's passing, the only words that escape my lips are, I see. Comrade's death is the sort of thing that takes a while to sink in. Daniel Bone. If my fellow troops were like family, then Danny was like a brother to me. He was a confident guy who relied on brute strength for everything. He was like a little brat whose body alone grew into that of a man. But because of this, he was straightforward and easy to understand. He never lied or betrayed a friend. I mean, maybe he seemed insensitive, but he actually possessed a clumsy sort of kindness. He was a strong leader, a Boy Scout type. I received word that Danny had died around 2 months after the terrorist incident at Vancouver International Airport. I'd returned from America, gotten my license to work in Japan, and when I was just beginning to get accustomed to my work at CIRS, I got a call from Eddie. When I heard that Danny had died, I just couldn't accept it. It sounded like a bad joke, it really did. But I knew there was no way that Eddie, always so serious, would joke about something like that. Danny was dead.
どうした？
ダニーが海兵隊の仲間だった男が死んだらしい。来週葬式があるって。
行ってこい。
でも俺仕事があるし。
JB だって同じことを言うさ。言っておかないと数年後に少しだけ後悔するぞ。
そういうものか。
Truthfully, even though I had been told Danny's dead, it just doesn't click. I can't believe it. Or rather, I can't accept it on an intellectual level. My head is trying to process it as something trivial. Surely funeral rites exist to address ambiguous emotions like that and provide a sense of closure. To be honest, I don't really want to show up at the funeral. You know, if I do, it just means I'm recognizing Danny's death even if I don't want to. Everybody becomes a good chap when they die. If I were able to laugh it off and say, man, he was a crazy bastard, it would open up a chasm between us. Danny has a military funeral, conducted with the help of local reserves. His mother and 2 younger sisters take part in the ceremony. After our training with the Marines, I met Danny's mother and one of his sisters when they came to visit the warship we were stationed on. This is likely the first time I've seen his other younger sister, a small girl who's sobbing and holding a portrait of Danny. To think that we'd meet for the first time under these circumstances. I accept Danny's belongings from one of the soldiers in the honor guard, and then it's down to me to hand them over to his relatives. His belongings include a dog tag, an earring, and a wristwatch. The watch he received as a present from his younger sister when he was enlisted in the Marines. It's an Iron Man model from Timex.
これダニエルの遺品です。
After accepting them and wrapping the watch and earring up very delicately in a handkerchief, his mother says, Mr. Kazami, please, I want you to hold on to this, and returns the dog tag to me. When it's time to bury him, a coffin wrapped in the majestic stars and stripes is carried by Marines down a pathway lined by Boy Scouts. The military chaplain offers his condolences, and several of the participants deliver personal eulogies before blinks are fired up into the sky in time with the band's music. It's a final farewell to the departed. Finally, a government official presents the elder of Danny's sisters with the folded flag. I can't find the words when I'm faced with Danny's body. Hey Danny, this is a joke, right? There's no way that the #1 Iron Man in the Marines would just die in an accident, right? Even when I touched Danny, now cold and still, I couldn't process the reality. I thought my heart would feel at least a little less heavy if I attended the funeral, but it didn't lighten my burden one bit. Even when I saw Danny's sisters' unrestrained tears and the still faces of my comrades as they bit their lips, I felt nothing. Or maybe my attitude toward death is different from everybody else's after all. The emotions that other people feel, sadness, frustration, they don't well up to the surface. An indescribable gloom just swirls around inside me, and however much I try, I'm unable to cough it up. Even I regard myself as cold and unfeeling. Forcing myself to cry at a funeral would be colder still. I'm told that Danny died after being stabbed. Wondering what could have led to this, I take a look at the death report that JB prepared for me. According to the NCIS report that JB looked over, Danny had gone to a bar for a drink after work and got involved in a drunken brawl. He was stabbed with a knife and then he died. Because the perpetrator was also a Marine, the incident was reported as a car accident to preserve appearances and protect Danny's family. Danny, who used to boast about his good luck, had survived on the hellish battlefield only to drop dead in a place far removed from it. Now, Danny often said the battlefield was safer than sex. I couldn't laugh at that comment anymore. Bidding me farewell, Danny's mother gives me his car keys, saying, "Please take these along with the dog tag." Oh. Ooh, that is a nice car. The car parked on its own in a warehouse at the base is the one Danny bought with the pay from his first mission. I'm not a car expert, but from what I understand, it's a vintage car from the back in the good old days. He paid quite a bit of money for it. I felt bad accepting such an expensive bequest, so I suggested that Danny's mother sell it off, but since she felt that it would be wrong to sell off her son's great treasure, there was no way I could turn her down. We decided that I would borrow it and that I could return it at any time. After all, once Danny's younger sister gets a driver's license, she might want to ride in her brother's car. You know, sentimental reasons. Until then, I'll take care of it.
Hey, 見ろよショーティ。いいだろう。ついにモパを手に入れたぜ。
随分と古そうな車だな。ちゃんと走るのか？
走るのかとはご挨拶じゃねえか。確かに年式は古いが、440キュービックインチのチューンドビッグブロックだ。430馬力は出てんだぜ。歯を食いしばってグググッとアクセルを踏んでやりゃ、地球が逆回転すんぞ。
I like Danny from playing Labyrinth. He was a good guy.
へえ。ちゃんと明日が来るといいな。
まあ、日本人のおめえにはわかんねえだろうな。これこそ力強いアメリカってやつよ。
こんな古い車、いくらで買ったんだ？
そうだな。込み込みの乗り出しで
Good God.
ドルぐらいだったかな。
$60,000? Wow.
よくそんな金があったな。
That's a ton of cash.
あるわけねえだろ。
Oh my God.
3000ドルだけ入れて、あとはローンだ。
Good God, that's a hell of a loan. $57,000.
ローン地獄じゃないか。家が買えるぞ。
Really, man? You should just bought a house.
いや、俺、例のバンクーバーで救出したおちびちゃんがよ、お礼はするって言ってたろ？
Oh yeah. For those of you who oh wait, no, that was something else. Never mind.
まさかあのお嬢ちゃんに残りのローン全部追っかぶせたのか？
何でもいいから欲しいものを言えって言ったのはあのお嬢ちゃん。
Oh yeah, that was actually the principal Tachibana. Yeah, Chizuru. Yeah, that was her. We saved her. She was drowning.
だからシャレのつもりでローンの残りを払ってくれって言ったら、あのお嬢ちゃんマジで全額払ってくれちゃったってわけよ。
That was really nice of her.
日本人ってな、本当に金持ちなんだな。
どうだろうな。あのお嬢ちゃんは多少特殊だと思うぞ。
どうだショーティ、ちょっとドライブでも行くか？
Hell yeah, I do.
明日も仕事あるし、帰ってこれなくな
Oh,
ると
come
困
on,
るな。
man. Yuuji, get the stick out of your ass and go for a drive.
エンジンをかけることができたら、お前に運転させてやってもいいぜ。
いや、だから行かないって。
いいか、こいつはかなり気難しい。まずはメインスイッチをオンにして、ランプで通電を確認する。次にキーを差し込んで、イグニッションに通電。燃料ポンプがゴンゴンと動いているのを確認。しばらく待ってポンプが止まったら、アクセルの遊びがなくなる程度に軽くペダルを踏み込み、セルを回す。セルが元気に回ってんのにエンジンがかからないときは、
下手にアクセルには触らず、様子を見ながらちょんちょん踏んだり。
Boy, it sounds like a lot of work just to start the damn car.
といった具合にエンジン
Oh.
がかかる。
Oh, listen to that sound. Oh, it's nice.
しかしエンジンがかかっても油断しちゃダメだ。下手にアクセルを踏めばストンと止まっちまうし、一度止まっちまえばしばらくはエンジンの機嫌が悪い。ゆっくりと今にも泣き出しそうな赤ん坊をあやすような感じでペダルを踏み、水温が上がるのを待つ。どうだ、覚えたか？
面倒な車だな。今時はハンディだってスイッチ一つでエンジンがかかるぞ。
But it's totally worth it, right? Once it gets going.
いやだね。車との付き合い方も知らねえ男ってなよ。
女とどっちがめんどくさい？
そりゃ女だ。はー、最高。
That's awesome.
漏らしそうだぜ。
Okay.
ダニー、おいダニー、この車シートベルトはどこだ？
Seatbelts. We don't need seatbelts.
ああ、腰んとこだよ。
なんだこれ、腰しか固定できないのか？
おうよ、知るときはこの車と一緒だ。
ダニー、休養を思い出した。そこのバス停で降ろしてくれ。
Oh, goodness.
おいおい、ビビったのか？俺の車の中でマリマリっとクソ漏らすのだけは勘弁だぜ。
この車がすごいのは分かったから、とにかくスピードを落としてくれ。事故でもやらかして新聞に載るのだけは勘弁だ。
車はパワーだぜ、ショーティー。トロトロ走ったってこの車の良さわかんねえだろうが。
まるで恐竜みたいな車だ。時代の流れとともに滅びる運命の車だ。
俺はお前にもわかると思ったんだがな。ジャパニーズのお前はおとなしく札幌にでも乗ってろ。
よくわからんが、俺はエアコンとパワーステのついてる車がいい。カーナビとコンポがあればもっといい。
贅沢な野郎だな。ついでにすぐやらしてくれる女が隣に乗ってりゃ言うことなしだな。
Yeah, air conditioning. It's such an extravagance.
できれば病気を持ってない子がいいな。
お、いいね。そんな女とデロンデロンになるまでバーで飲んで、走ってる車の窓から道路標識を銃で撃つゲームでもやるか。
ギャレット隊員にバレたらぶっ飛ばされるぞ。
Oh, yeah, Captain Garrett. Oh, man.
だったらまず真っ先にあの女を酔いつぶすか。酔しちまえば女なんかみんな同じだぜ。
What happened?
それで酔いつぶれた隊員の横っ面を何で引っ叩く気か？
人間なんざ生きてりゃいつかは死ぬんだ。クソまみれの戦場で死ぬよりはマシだろう。それに俺はあの地獄みてえな戦場から生きて戻ったんだぜ。俺は運がいいんだ。そうだ、
確かにな。
大体俺はアイアンマンだぜ。そう簡単に落ちんでたまるかよ。スターズ&ストライプスフォーエバー。
ダニー、確かにお前は殺しても死なないよ。
Danny's legacy will live on in the car.
なあ、ショーティーよ。
なんだ？
もし俺が死んだらこの車はお前にやるよ。大事にしてくれ。
なんだよ急に。
もしもの時って話だよ。海兵隊一のアイアンマンであるこの俺様がそうポコポコ死ぬわけねえだろ。
そりゃそうだ。大体いらねえよ、こんなポンコツ。
言ったなこの野郎。おめえには絶対この車やらねえからな。後になって欲しいよ欲しいよダニーって言ってきても絶対やんねえからな。
誰が言うもんか。
In the end, we drove around all night. Then we parked in the lot near the beach and fell asleep under a blanket in the trunk that reeked of oil. Good times. When a guy lays his hands on a car, he's supposed to bring his pals out for a spin and get tired and fall asleep in the car with the radio on, then wake up with a dead battery. Daniel told me that this was a sort of ritual in the town he was from. Does this car know that its owner has died, I wonder? When I open the driver's side door, the hinges make an unpleasant squeaking sound.
いらねえよ、こんなポンコツ。
Hey Danny, this is a joke, right? There's no way that the Marine's #1 Iron Man would die in a stupid way like this, right? You're gonna grin and say, "Hey, what's up, little man?" like you always do, right? Stop with the bad jokes, Danny. As I get into the driver's seat, the smell of Danny's preferred brand of cigarettes wafts into my nose. But Danny isn't here. When I look in the back seat and all around the rest of the car, Danny's not there. That's a given. He's dead. As I think it over again, the tears start flowing. There's no holding them back. I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I'm lonely. One after the other, the teardrops roll down my face. I get it now. I realize now for the first time that I'm lonely and hurting because of Danny's death. So I'm not insensitive to death after all. It's just that I've never tried to face up to someone's death seriously before now.
これから寂しくなるな、ダニー。
Daniel Bone. My fellow troops were like family. Daniel would be a brother. He was a confident guy who relied on brute strength for everything. He was like a little brat whose body alone grew into that of a man. But because of this, he was straightforward, easy to understand. He never lied or betrayed a friend. He might seem insensitive, but he actually possessed a clumsy sort of kindness. He was a strong leader and a Boy Scout. And he was the only guy I could really call my best friend. Thank you, Danny. I know I could die like a dog at any time, but if I could, I'd like to live out your share of life as well. That day I cried my eyes out in the car Danny left behind, not fearing what anyone else thought. Then while listening to the car radio, I fell asleep wrapped in that same blanket which still reeked of oil. That day I learned how to cry for somebody else, for the very first time.